live edge, slab, a little bit of sapwood, walnut, beautiful. Ugh. Has this little check. Not sure what that is. Let's see if we can get that fixed.
The customer had put a piece of tape over that, which was probably not a bad idea. Okay, so here's where I started removing the conversion varnish. A card scraper does a good job, and it took about 3 passes. So this is what I would call the first pass. You can see it's just white. So that's like maybe half of the mil thickness of the conversion varnish coming off. Okay, time to address the real problem. You can kind of hear the difference between solid and where that little loose feather is. So that has to come out.
I sanded this area because, like I said, this might not show up on camera, but this is ambered. It's patinaed over about a year, and so it has a slight orange tone to it. That's not the true color of the walnut. I need to find a piece of walnut that is going to match where I'm going to do this repair, right? And so this first one I got, I thought was going to be right, but it's way too red compared to this. This is more of a grayish brown. So I did find some good candidates. This one's a little bit too gray, and this one's not bad. I actually like this one because it has this mineral streaking. The color's right, and I've got this grain pattern that is very similar to what's happening here, so I can create this inlay. So, oh my gosh, wish me luck. All right, so here's the next step. So what I decided, so here's this little chingadera right in here. I gotta get rid of that somehow. If I just made an inlay there, blending this up in here would be pretty easy, but down on this end, whatever I do is gonna show up. So this grain kind of has this wavy triangular shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with that shape and bring this inlay all the way to the edge. I think it'll be a lot easier and probably look better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this out, then I'm going to trace that, and then we're going to make a template so that we can cut this out and then use that same template with an inlay kit and a router to find some grain that's favorable to that general shape and then fit that piece. So stand by for more.
All right, so doing a little layout of the inlay, right? You can see I'm just barely on the outside of the defect. I've made another line to allow for my collar, which is a 3/16 offset. Using a tracing, I can transfer that to a jig or a template. So this is just simply 1/4 inch material, making this V. I'm going to cut that out. You can see it laid out there and partially cut, right? All right, so this is the test cut and the first pass made with a router and a collar with an inlay kit.
1 inch collar, 1/2 inch bit, that's a 1/4 inch difference. This router was doing a 3/16 difference between the jig and the cut. And so I can get rid of the majority of the waste with this guy, except right here, there's just a little bit, so I can clean that up with the smaller router, and that's our sample. All right, so I have the template screwed to this scrap just to make a sample, right? Inlay kit, and I'll pull this dude off now, this little collar. We'll make that cut again. So here we go. Right? And then I'm going to cut this on the bandsaw and slice this little piece out, and we'll see how it fits. All Here's a piece straight off the bandsaw. Actually pretty good cut. And haven't done anything to it. And it doesn't fit. But it has to fit, right? That's the beauty of this shape of a cut, an inlay, because it's essentially just a wedge. And so it'll just get tighter and tighter as it goes in there, especially if the sides were cut straight. We cut them a little bit irregular just to hopefully make it blend a little bit better. And this tip, you can see, you know, it was an 1/8 inch router bit, so it's leaving a radius there. I'll use a scalpel and whatever to chisel that to a nice point, and a little bit of fitting, and this dude, it'll fit. And the color is perfect. All right, there it is. I actually did not take my time chiseling this out. On the table, I have to take my time because it's got to look perfect. But it's going to work. So we can start to tap that in and then literally tap it on the end or even clamp it and drive it in tight.
You can actually hear when it bottoms out.
So with glue, that should look pretty good. That actually does not have any glue. It is super tight. If the grain was the right color, it would probably look pretty good. Oh gosh, I'm a little nervous. But the good thing is, if I don't like it, I can just route it slightly bigger by moving the jig this direction. So, yeah, let's do it.
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of procrastinating doing the table, doing the real inlay. I just want to make sure everything's right. So, you know, I don't want any mistakes. And actually doing this test and having to pull it out with a pair of pliers made me feel a lot better. So, and by the way, I used sapwood, so it would really contrast. I was kidding that it was the right color, but the real one, I'm going to show you how I make that blend. Okay, so there's the first cut in the table. Came out great. This is the second cut with a bigger router bit. I'm using a drill bit to get the precise depth of cut to match the first small pass. There you can see it's all cut out and the same depth.
All right, got that cut out in the table. Wanted to show you something, so I'm gonna pull these clamps off. If I needed to put this back exactly where it was, right there. I've got a block here, has sandpaper in the bottom, a sanding block, and I've got that clamped in place and actually a stop here, so this could just literally just go boom, right back. So I'm gonna leave all that until I'm completely done. Of course, if I goofed on the inlay or whatever and I needed to go a little deeper, I would move that block and I could easily just slide this against this dude to, you know, give me another chance to cut another deeper cut. So hope that helps.
All right, so using the same template and an inlay kit, I pull off that first collar, right? And we're gonna make the inlay piece now. So I like using drill bits to set depths. So here I have a couple of drill bits. The smaller one is what I did the inlay in the table, the inlay cut in the table with. And now I'm using a slightly bigger drill bit to make this inlay piece slightly bigger or thicker. So we want it slightly proud of the table so we can sand it all flush, right? So here we go. So I don't know if you remember the defect, but it was grain that was this shape. So this will really help make it blend. So I skipped the part at the bandsaw and actually making the fine tip cut with a scalpel and small chisel. But it fits perfect because it has to. I mean, it's an inlay kit. So
I think it's ready for glue, yeah?
All right, I spread glue out, and I'm using a roller to really mash that very tip and get lots of pressure. Make sure it's seated correctly, right? So the hammer is not so much to hammer it in place, but to hear the distinct difference of sound when it bottoms out. And this is like a polypropylene plastic. And I mark where that tip is so I can get adequate pressure there. That polypropylene or polystyrene plastic, it won't adhere to that glue. It won't bond, I should say. All right, now all we can do is wait. Actually, I'm quite confident that it'll come out amazing and beautiful.
All right, good morning. Pull these clamps off, see how we did here. So this has been on about 24 hours. I always find it strange that you can tighten a clamp just, super tight, and then as it compresses, it gets loose a tad, you know what I mean? But for this, plenty tight, should be fine. All right. See all that glue squeeze out, and that thing did not stick whatsoever. Well, it's ugly, it doesn't look like much, but we're gonna get that sanded flush and see how it looks. Grab this.
So here I'm using 120 grit. I'm merely getting the inlay flush with the surrounding part of the table. As a matter of fact, I'll leave some of the pencil line that was there just to ensure that I don't go more than I need to.
So there's still a little bit of pencil right there, right there. That'll disappear with the next grit, but pretty good repair, right? It'll look even better as this all gets flushed up. You can see that point right there, but that kind of looks like grain. Mineral streaking ties in. Of course, this will get flushed up here. Yeah, man, super happy with that.
All right, by adding a couple of layers of tape, I could use a hand plane and get that inlay flush with the edge, and I can shave it right up to the conversion varnish. I don't want to do anything with the conversion varnish on the edge. I'm going to leave that, right? Okay, so I didn't show it, but I took 2 more passes for a total of 3 passes with a card scraper to get all the conversion varnish off, or the majority of it. And then I hit it with a 120 grit with a belt sander. Then I switched to this ETS sander, and knots are notorious for showing linear scratches from the belt sander right there where I pointed. This will remove them easily.
All right, so up to this point, this has been sanded with a belt sander with 120 grit, and then with the Festool DA, the ETS 6-inch, also with 120 grit. Everything looks really good. I'm gonna hit this with a low raking light, low raking angle, and That'll show us any scratches really quickly. The sander, the Festool ETS does a 3mm orbit, and it is tiny, pretty small, but I don't see any evidence of a swirl at all. So, you know, I clean this between grits with compressed air. Man, this looks freaking awesome. So next is 180 with the ETS as well. The inlay came out fantastic. Can't wait to show that to you. The inlay repair, I should say. And then this thing will be ready for another shot of conversion varnish. I might be able to do that this afternoon. So, yeah, progress. All right, upon further inspection, I'm skipping the 180 with the DA. There's really no use to do it. So this is from 120 directly to 180 by hand. And it won't need much. Long strokes. Overlapping. That'll work. I need a little bit of bite for conversion varnish, hence 180. I don't go much more than, seldom do I ever go higher than 180. I might do 220 on end grain, but this has already been done. So this I'll just lightly scuff with 220 and see, this is already done. I really don't want to, I didn't want to remove this conversion varnish off the edges. So yeah. All right, the entire thing's been done. Simple block of wood, 180 sandpaper. Check out this repair. Not too bad, right? So right in here was that little feather that lifted up. You know, Mother Nature. Just wood is very dynamic, never stops moving. So I cut this little triangular shape inlay out, put in another piece, matched up some grain, and came out fantastic. If I didn't show this to you, you would never know it was there. So yeah, really happy with that. You can slightly see, well, maybe you can. Yeah, right here. Right here it gets like a color different, and you can kind of see it. But I made the sides of the triangle kind of wavy, kind of irregular shape, or that kind of a wave to help blend that. So yeah, super happy with that. All right, so I used this DeVilbiss FLG4, I think it's called, to lay down a couple of coats of, or seal coats. There's the inlay, came out amazing. I also use a Graco Finax gravity feed for smaller jobs, and I use an HVLP turbine system, also Graco, that's called the Finish Pro 9.5 for larger jobs. There's really not a one-size-fits-all when you're spraying. So, and there's the inlay. Let's check it out. Shine a little light on the seam. What seam? Came out fantastic, yeah? Really appreciate the views. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps somebody out there. Thanks a ton. Make your day great.